Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry has seen many students. Some were good, some were bad, a few were truly legendary. Among these, 4 names stand out. They belong to James Potter, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew. Together, they were known as the Marauders. They attended Hogwarts in the 1970s. All 4 were sorted into Gryffindor House. This house was known for bravery and daring. These boys had plenty of both, and a love for mischief too. Their reputation at Hogwarts was quite something. Teachers found them brilliant, yet they were also exasperating. They broke rules often. Many students admired their daring. Fred and George Weasley later looked up to them. Others, like Severus Snape, despised them. Argus Filch, the caretaker, certainly had no love for them. He spent years trying to catch them. The Marauders were masters of evasion. They always seemed one step ahead. Their names echoed in the halls, whispered with awe or annoyance. The Marauders even had nicknames for each other. These names were part of their secret. James Potter was Prongs. This was because of his Animagus form, a stag. Sirius Black was Padfoot. He could turn into a large black dog. Remus Lupin was Moony. This name referred to his monthly transformations. He was a werewolf, a secret they guarded closely. Peter Pettigrew was Wormtail. He became a rat. These names were more than just fun. They represented their bond. They showed their shared adventures and secrets. Their friendship was incredibly strong. They were an inseparable group. From their early days in Gryffindor Tower, they stuck together. They faced school challenges as one. They shared laughter and supported each other. This bond was the heart of the Marauders. It fueled their adventures. It also, in some ways, led to their greatest triumphs, and sadly, to their eventual tragedies. Their story began with this powerful, youthful friendship, a friendship that would leave a lasting mark on the wizarding world for years. James Potter was a leader. He was naturally gifted in magic. He excelled in transfiguration. This complex magic came easily to him. He was also a brilliant chaser on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. He was fast and skilled on a broom. Many girls at Hogwarts admired him. He was confident, sometimes to the point of arrogance. James possessed a quick wit. He also had a strong sense of loyalty. This loyalty was especially for his closest friends. His magical talent was undeniable from a young age. Sirius Black was James's best friend. He came from a dark wizarding family, but Sirius rejected their beliefs. He was charming and handsome. He had a rebellious streak. He was brave, sometimes reckless. Sirius was also very clever. He was skilled in charms. He could perform difficult magic. Later in life, he even mastered non-verbal spells. At Hogwarts, his talent was clear. He matched James in spirit and ability. He was a key part of the Marauders' daring plans. Remus Lupin was the quiet one. He was more reserved than James or Sirius. He was incredibly intelligent. He often acted as the conscience of the group. Remus had a secret. He was a werewolf. This caused him great suffering, but his friends stood by him. Remus was kind and thoughtful. He excelled in defense against the dark arts. His understanding of dark creatures was personal. This gave him unique insights. His wisdom often balanced the others' impulsiveness. Peter Pettigrew was different from the others. He was not as talented. He was not as brave. He was not as clever. Peter often seemed to be in awe of his friends. He followed James and Sirius. He enjoyed the protection their friendship offered. Despite his weaknesses, he did achieve something remarkable. He too became an Animagus. This showed some determination, or perhaps it showed his desire to belong. His skills were less obvious, but he was part of the group dynamic. He completed the quartet of friends. Remus Lupin carried a heavy burden. He had been bitten by a werewolf as a child. Fenrir Greyback was the werewolf who attacked him. So every month at the full moon, Remus underwent a painful transformation. He became a dangerous werewolf. To protect others, he was taken to the Shrieking Shack. This was a hidden house in Hogsmeade. The villagers heard his howls. They thought the sounds came from violent ghosts. This was how the shack got its name. Remus endured these transformations alone for a long time. His closest friends, James, Sirius, and Peter, soon noticed his regular disappearances. They figured out his secret. Remus was terrified they would abandon him. Werewolves were feared and misunderstood. Many would have run away, but James, Sirius, and Peter were different. They were loyal. They did not turn their backs on Remus. Instead, they decided to help him. They wanted to make his transformations easier. They wanted to be there for him. This decision showed their deep friendship. Their plan was ambitious and dangerous. They decided to become Animagi. An Animagus is a wizard who can turn into an animal at will. This is extremely difficult magic. It takes years of study and practice. It's also illegal to do without registering with the Ministry of Magic. The Marauders did not register. They were still students. They were very young to attempt such a feat, but their loyalty to Remus drove them. They studied in secret. They worked tirelessly. They risked expulsion and worse. By their 5th year, they succeeded. James Potter could transform into a stag. This earned him the nickname Prongs. Sirius Black became a large black dog, Padfoot. Peter Pettigrew turned into a rat, Wormtail. As animals, they could safely accompany Remus during his werewolf transformations. A werewolf is only dangerous to humans. So, Moony, as they called Remus, had company. His transformations became less lonely. They became less violent. The friends would roam the Hogwarts grounds and the Forbidden Forest together. This secret cemented their bond even further. The Prankster's Playbook, Legendary Hogwarts Capers. The Marauders' pranks were famous. They were not simple, childish tricks. Their pranks were clever. They were often elaborate. They required significant magical skill. They could be very disruptive to school life, but they were also usually quite entertaining, at least for some. The group worked together on these capers. James and Sirius were often the masterminds. Remus might have offered clever ideas. Peter likely went along with the plans. Their pranks became part of Hogwarts lore. Specific details of many pranks are lost to time, but stories of their general activities survived. They often targeted Slytherin's students. There was a strong rivalry between Gryffindor and Slytherin. Severus Snape was a particular focus of their taunts. They likely set off countless dung bombs. They probably charmed objects to sing or dance. They might have jinxed Slytherin Quidditch players before matches. Their goal was to amuse themselves. They also wanted to assert Gryffindor dominance. Their pranks were a constant source of headaches for the staff. Magic was central to their pranking. They used their growing skills and charms. They employed jinxes they learned. Transfiguration also played a role. Imagine changing a Slytherin's robes to canary yellow, or making Filch's keys sing off key. Their creativity was boundless. They combined their individual talents. This made their pranks sophisticated. It also made them harder to trace back to the culprits. They were not just pranksters. They were magical artists of mischief. They took pride in their inventive schemes. The reaction to their exploits varied. Professor Dumbledore often seemed to have a twinkle in his eye. He might have been privately amused. He understood youthful exuberance. Professor McGonagall, their head of house, was less tolerant. She was strict and fair. She likely gave them many detentions. Argus Filch lived in a state of constant fury. He dreamed of punishing them severely. Other students had mixed feelings. Some were entertained, some were annoyed, some were intimidated. The Marauders certainly left an impression. When Mischief met Malice the Snape incident and its shadows, James Potter and Sirius Black had a strong dislike for Severus Snape. Snape was a Slytherin student. He was interested in the dark arts. The animosity was mutual. Snape detested James's arrogance. He envied James's popularity and Quidditch skills. James and Sirius often bullied Snape. They hexed him in the corridors. They made fun of him publicly. Remus did not always approve of this. Peter, however, usually joined in with James and Sirius. This feud was a dark stain on their school years. One particular prank went too far. It was orchestrated by Sirius Black. He knew Snape was curious about Remus's disappearances. Snape suspected Remus was a werewolf. Sirius cruelly decided to exploit this. He told Snape how to get past the Whomping Willow. This tree guarded the passage to the Shrieking Shack. Sirius knew Remus would be there. He knew Remus would be in his werewolf form. Sending Snape there was incredibly dangerous. It could have led to Snape's death, or Snape could have become a werewolf himself. James Potter found out about Sirius's plan. He realized the terrible danger. James acted quickly. He followed Snape. He managed to stop Snape just in time. He pulled Snape away before he reached the werewolf. James saved Snape's life. This act was complex. James did it to prevent a catastrophe, but it was a situation created by his best friend, and James himself had often tormented Snape, so while he saved Snape, he was not entirely a hero in this story. His motives were mixed. The consequences of this incident were serious. Snape knew he had been in mortal danger. He knew Remus was a werewolf. Dumbledore had to intervene. He swore Snape to secrecy about Remus. This event deepened Snape's hatred for James and Sirius. He felt indebted to James, which he resented. For the Marauders, it was a harsh lesson. It showed how their recklessness could have fatal outcomes. Their mischief had crossed a line into malice. It cast a shadow over their reputation. It showed a worrying lack of judgment. A magical blueprint, the creation and power of the Marauders map. The Marauders needed a way to navigate Hogwarts undetected. They explored the castle constantly. They needed to know all its secrets. This was partly for fun and adventure. It was also crucial for helping Remus. They had to sneak him out of the castle. They had to reach the Shrieking Shack safely. They also wanted to avoid Argus Filch. Filch was always patrolling the corridors. So, they decided to create a special tool. This tool would become one of their greatest achievements, the Marauders map. The magic involved in the Marauders map was extraordinary. It was far beyond what typical students could achieve. The map showed the entire Hogwarts castle and grounds. It displayed every classroom, every corridor, every hidden passage. Most impressively, it showed the location of everyone within the castle. Each person was represented by a tiny labeled dot. This dot moved in real time. The map was activated by tapping it with a wand. One had to say, "I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good." The homunculus charm was likely used in its creation. The map also had a personality. It reflected the cheeky nature of its creators. If someone tried to read it without knowing the password, it would insult them. For example, when Snape tried to use it, the map displayed messages. These messages were from Messrs. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. They offered Snape advice on washing his hair. They also told him to keep his abnormally large nose out of other people's business. This feature protected its secrets. It also showed the Marauders' humor. Eventually, Filch confiscated the map. He never figured out how to use it. He kept it in his office drawer, labeled confiscated and highly dangerous. Years later, Fred and George Weasley found it. They stole it from Filch's office. The map became their most prized possession. They used it for their own mischief. They knew Hogwarts better than anyone thanks to the map. Eventually, they passed it on to Harry Potter. The Marauders map continued its legacy. It helped a new generation of rule breakers. Echoes through time. The Marauders' impact on Harry Potter. Harry Potter grew up knowing little about his parents. He only knew James and Lily Potter died heroically. When he came to Hogwarts, he began to learn more. He discovered his father was not just a hero. James Potter had been a troublemaker. He had been arrogant. He had bullied Snape. This was a shock for Harry. He had idolized his father. Learning the truth was difficult. It made his father a more complex figure. It made him more human. Harry had to wrestle with these revelations. Two of the Marauders became very important to Harry. Sirius Black was Harry's godfather. He escaped from Azkaban prison. He became a father figure to Harry. He offered love and support, and Remus Lupin became Harry's defense against the dark arts teacher. He was kind and wise. He taught Harry many valuable lessons. He also told Harry stories about his parents. Both Sirius and Remus protected Harry. They guided him. They showed him the best qualities of the Marauders, loyalty and bravery. The Marauders map itself played a huge role in Harry's life. Fred and George gave it to him. It became an invaluable tool. Harry used it to sneak around the castle. He used it to avoid teachers. He used it to find Peter Pettigrew. The map was a direct link to his father. It was a piece of James's past that Harry could hold. It helped him understand his father's adventurous spirit. The map was a symbol of the Marauders' ingenuity. It was also a symbol of their rebellious nature. Harry Potter seemed to inherit some Marauder traits. He had his father's rebellious streak. He was not afraid to challenge authority. He valued his friends deeply. He showed great loyalty to Ron and Hermione. Like the Marauders, Harry often found himself breaking rules. Sometimes it was for a good cause, sometimes it was out of necessity. The spirit of the Marauders lived on in Harry. He faced his own dark challenges. He drew strength from the legacy of his father and his friends. Their story influenced his journey.